bring up my script. All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Ken Estabrook. I'm chair of the Finance Committee. So I call this evening's meeting of the Maynard Finance Committee to order. I'd like to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Jill?
Yes.
Elliot?
Yep.
Tom?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Alana?
Yes.
Greg Johnston?
Yes.
Megan Zamuto?
Yes.
Mike Guzzo?
Yes.
I hereby confirm that we have a quorum of members who are able to participate remotely and call this September 28th meeting to order at 7:03. This open meeting of the Maynard Finance Committee is being conducted remotely in compliance with Governor Baker's executive order suspending certain provisions of open meeting law dated March 12th, 2020. More than 6 months ago now. Due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor order suspends the requirement of open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. This order allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely as long as adequate alternative means of public access is provided so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. So, of course, the Zoom conferencing software application that we're using is that means adequate alternative means of public access. Information about participating in this and any future FinCom meetings that are conducted remotely by using Zoom conferencing is posted on the town's website. Please note that ensuring public access does not necessarily mean public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting, of course, will feature public comment since we have a public hearing portion that will be coming a little later. Please note that this evening's meeting is being recorded. That way, anyone who's not able to make the meeting this evening will be able to see that. It is also being live streamed via the town's Facebook page. Accordingly, please be aware that other meeting participants may be able to see and hear you, and that you take care not to screen share your computer. In essence, anything that you show or say can be captured by the recording. All the materials for this meeting are available on the town meeting page. I posted that link in the chat. Also available in the FinCom portion of the board docs as well as the FinCom webpage. I will be showing almost all the materials that we'll have, particularly those relating to the public hearing. So you'll be able to see those live and follow along. But of course, you can go to the town meeting webpage and get your own, secure your own copies. So some ground rules for this evening. Initial discussion will be reserved to fellow FinCom members and to town staff. At the end of which I'll ask the FinCom members if they have any comment, last comment, and then we'll take comments from the public. During the public hearing portion, we'll be going through each warrant article in sequence, and we'll be taking any comments or questions that the public has as we go through. So don't feel like you have to hold your questions until the end or anything like that. In the meantime, if you are not actively participating in the discussion, I would ask you to mute your phone, and you may leave your picture on if you want, or turn that off, either one. Again, please be aware that if you don't have your phone, your phone or computer muted or the picture off, then other members will be able to see this and you are being recorded. If you have any questions, please direct them to me and I will refer them to the appropriate staff or other person. Let's see here. Please be sure to identify yourself by name and address each time that you speak so that Alana, who's taking minutes, will have an easier job of doing so. It also helps those of us who may be looking at multiple screens to know who's speaking. Keep in mind that particularly me, I will be looking at multiple screens at a time trying to organize the meeting. And then finally, each vote that the Finance Committee takes will be conducted by roll call. For those of you who want to make a comment during the public hearing portion, you have 3 options for doing that. If you're on Zoom, the chat option is enabled. And you can put your chat in there. I would ask you to, if you are looking for me to read them aloud, to also include your address as well as your first and last name. So this option, of course, is accessible only to those who are accessing Zoom via the web. If you'd like to speak, Zoom also has a raise your hand option on the participants menu. So if you go to the participant, or you go to the participants, let's see here. If you go to the participants menu at the bottom, you can open up the participants listing. And if you go over to the right, there's an option. If there's 3 dots there, you click on those 3 dots and you can sit there and raise your hand and I'll attempt to view that. Please understand that I'm going to be looking at a lot of different folks. I will make sure that any questions or comments that we go forward, and I'm sure that other members and the town staff will help me make sure that we get through that. If you're calling in on a phone, you can press the star key +9 to raise your hand, and we'll do that. So again, you either do Zoom in the chat box, Zoom by raise your hand, and you can ask your question, or if you're calling in, *9. If you're viewing us via Facebook, we will not likely be able to see your comments. If you have any questions, hopefully we'll see them, but we will not be monitoring that because we'll really be focused on this, on the Q&A being asked in the Zoom chat. So hopefully that's clear to everybody. So I'm going to, let's see here. Let me bring this back up and I am going to share. Let's see here. I think it's in here. No, that's not it. Sorry. Let's try this again here. Show all windows, try that. And there we are. Excuse me. All right, so here's our agenda for this evening. So we're first going to turn our attention to minutes from the last meeting, which Alana sent out to everyone. I will also display them here. And then we'll have updates from the chair and any members, and then we'll turn our attention to a public hearing on the special town meeting warrant articles. This is a public hearing that's mandated by a town charter to allow those of you who have questions or like to make comments on that. And hopefully we have everybody here who you will need in order to get an answer to your question. And certainly we'll be taking comments. After I close the public hearing, then we will turn our attention to upcoming meeting schedule and then set the agenda for our next FinCom meeting, which is a date to be determined, and we'll talk about that when we get there. As it says here, questions may be submitted prior to the meeting via email to my town email address is listed there. I didn't see any on there. I will tell you that Outlook's been having some problems today, and so if you sent me one, I have not received any comments or any questions from that. However, during this meeting, of course, you can do that through the Zoom chat. So with that, I'm going to turn attention then to our September 14th meeting minutes. Of course, we had some discussion. Last meeting was Kelly Kane's first meeting. Welcome again. It sent out the master plan. That's on my list of things to talk to you all about, possibly addressing at a future meeting. And we talked last time about there would be eventually an implementation committee put together to implement the recommendations of the master plan, but that will be started at some point in the future. Alana talked a little bit about our transition to board docs. Again, thank you, Alana, for doing that. I did talk about the financial policy manual, which is, again, another thing that I introduced last week that we'll be talking at a future meeting. And we talked about that. We talked a little bit about the town budget. Again, no particular updates on that. We did then turn our attention to some conversations with Brian Haas, the Maynard Public Schools Superintendent, as well as Lydia Clancy and Natasha Rivera, who are on the school committee. And we talked a little bit about the latest information they had to share about cuts that would need to be made given the latest information that we have on the town budget. We'll be talking about that, of course, as part of the public hearing. Then turn to special town meeting preparation. And we talked about our two recommendations on Article 9 and Article 17. I would make note, as I have said, that we will need to, I don't think our recommendation is going to change, but given that the article is going to change, then we'll need to take another vote on that this evening. Of course, we talked also about Article 17, which was for the debt exclusion for the proposed new fire station. And then we voted on those, and then those got published. And I guess that is about it. Anyway, any portion of that somebody wants to see again? If not, I will entertain a motion.
This is Peter. I'd move to accept the minutes of September 14th.
Okay, is there, I'm sorry, who was this?
Tom seconds.
Thank you. Peter's made a motion and Tom seconded. We'll do a roll call vote. Jill?
Yes.
Elliot?
Yep.
Tom?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Alana?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well, so that's 7-0 acceptance. All right. Our next order of business is an update from Chair. Greg, giving you warning here that I may ask you to elaborate on the special town meeting. So again, just for the information, I think everybody's heard that our special town meeting, fall special town meeting, will be held this Saturday, October 3rd at 1 o'clock at the Mill and Main parking lot. That's the same location that we did in June for our annual town meeting. Just as a reminder to those of my fellow FinCom members, I will be up front. I'm the only one that needs to be up front because I'll be making obviously FinCom recommendations with each article. However, we will need a quorum there in case there are any amendments or anything else that needs to be discussed. And I'll be posting a quorum notice probably this evening with the town to do that. I just wanted to go through and ask who's going to be at town meeting, just so I could make sure that that we will have a quorum. Jill, are you planning to be there?
I will not be able to come.
Okay, Elliot,
Yes, I am planning on being there.
Tom,
Yeah, I'll be there.
Peter,
I'm sorry, late breaking, but I will not be able to be there.
Kelly,
I will be there.
okay, Alana,
Yes, I'm planning to be there.
and I will be there as well. So that's 2, 4, 5. So we will have a quorum. Just FYI, the same thing that we did at town meeting in June. We will have a parking area down front where you all should park, hopefully sort of together. There's a reserved area up front. Again, that's just to make sure that if I do need to meet, that we could all do so together appropriately with appropriate physical distancing, masking, and so forth. But I don't anticipate needing to do that. We didn't have to do that in June, but again, you never know. Greg, is the setup for entry about the same as what it was in June?
Yes, it should be identical. That was the idea, is we were just trying to recreate the greatness from June.
And for those of you who did not attend, well, for those of you who did attend, I can tell you that most of the people I talked to thought it went very smoothly. I think Dick, Greg, the town staff all did a wonderful job of making it very easy. It was a beautiful day, obviously. And so hopefully we'll have the same, probably not quite as warm, but hopefully we'll have the same great weather. But it went very smoothly. You get a packet when you go in, which will have the warrant and all the handouts and everything. And so it's very easy. I guess the other thing to say is the moderator grouped the articles together so that we could vote on them in groups. They can still, a town meeting voter can ask for a warrant article to be voted on by itself. But I don't think we did that. But in any case, the grouping made it go very smoothly. So that was really great. We will talk about this later, but our next regular meeting after that would be October 12th, which is a holiday, which means we can't meet on that day. And so we'll talk about our schedule later on in this meeting. Other than that, I have no updates. Does any other member have any updates?
Tim, oh, go ahead,
Go
Jillian.
ahead.
We're probably going to say the same thing.
Yeah, I just wanted to say there is a budget subcommittee meeting planned on September 30th, Wednesday at 7 p.m.
Can I clarify that that's tentative? So my understanding was if it was necessary to have that meeting, and so I asked the chair of that meeting, David Gavin, if he wanted to have one, and he asked me, is there a need to have one? And I personally don't have anything off the top of my head that I think I need to brief the committee. But anyways, if a member of the committee wants to email Dave and just say, there is something they want to talk about, so be it.
You would have had to post it by now, right?
We did.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. So, yeah, if you wouldn't mind, Greg, at some point, once that decision's been finalized, if you would just confirm that and let me know. So, okay, so give me 1 second, please, folks. All right. All right, with that, I'm going to turn our attention to public hearing. And so I'm probably going to go through this at a fairly rapid clip. But again, please let me know if you have any comments. And I will endeavor, let me open up the participants thing again. Okay. All right. Jill, if you wouldn't mind helping out, maybe just keeping a glance every once in a while on the chat. I've got that open, but it would be helpful to have your assistance on that as well. All right. So Article 1 is a routine annual procedural article to accept reports from various town committees, the master plan steering committee. And so as you see in the warrant article, and the warrant for each article, there's comments by the finance committee. This has to do with our recommendation. So you'll see our recommendation as well as our comments. And then there's a comment from the sponsor as well. You can see here that the master plan steering committee is going to do a short presentation. The master plan has been submitted to the planning board for their vote, has also been endorsed by the Board of Selectmen. It's available on the town website. I believe, Greg, that this is the only town report that's going to be reporting out at town meeting. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
You can,
Yep.
if you're sharing the actual paper, I don't see it.
Oh, excuse me. Let me do this again. I will share. Thank you, Jill, because that is absolutely what I was trying to do. Okay, there we go. That everybody see it now? Okay, so there's the town report acceptance. Okay. There we go. Too many windows open. All right. Okay, so Article 2 is amendment to the town bylaws relating to stormwater management. You see that it's a fairly lengthy one. The Finance Committee recommendation was to recommend. So you see here our explanation of it as well as the sponsor's explanation. This has to do largely with incorporating regulatory requirements and having them reflected. It also, I think the other thing it was intended to do was reduce the threshold requiring review from an acre to 10,000 square feet. And that ensured that stormwater review would be performed on more development projects, since as a small town, even a small project can have an impact on our stormwater management system. All right. Not seeing any raised hands. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go on to 3. Oops. Sorry, folks. Oh, here we are. Okay. So Article 3 is also an amendment to the town bylaws. It was rewriting a section. So it was to see if the town will vote to amend the town bylaws, but deleting the current chapter 15 and replace it with the chapter 15 that's provided in the warrant. And you see there that we also recommended that, and we felt as that passage would the intent was to mandate that fines for non-criminal violations at town laws would be listed in and only in the originating town bylaw, and this would make sure there was consistency across that. All right. Sorry, folks. All right, Article 4 is again another bylaw amendment. This was to replace Chapter 27 and create a new chapter, alarm and video security systems. You see that chapter is right there. It's rather lengthy, but it is in there. We voted to recommend this. Basically, what they were trying to do, since it hadn't been addressed in a while, was to bring it up to date in line with technology in particular. For example, there are a lot of video surveillance systems in businesses, and police department wanted to make sure that those were registered, so we were aware of where those were. All right, continuing on, Article 5. This is dog owner's responsibility bylaw. Again, this is listed here in the warrant. We recommended this, as you can see. Felt as though this would reorganize Chapter 24 for clarity, as well as revise it to waive registration fees for dog owners that were over 70 and those that had registered service dogs, and also updated fines for violation. Okay, the next one, Article 6, is another amendment of the bylaws for nuisances, deleting the current Chapter 21 bylaw and creating a new Chapter 1. And you can see this in its entirety in the warrant. The Finance Committee voted to recommend we replace the current nuisance bylaws with a new one, which has been reorganized for clarity. Fines have also been changed to reflect the town council's recommendation that there be a set fine rather than a range. Also, the section on blight has been removed because we had approved Chapter 41 at the October 2019 special town meeting. There was golf carts were added to authorized motor vehicles on town-owned property, since the golf course, Maynard Golf Course, is town-owned. See, it was there was also a change to reflect state law, allowing bike riders to ride 2 abreast rather than only single file. And then there were some other things around baby, toddler bike safety. All right, Article 7 was a home rule petition, special legislation to add a liquor license for Arts Specialty, which is a firm at 25 Nason. This is similar to a uh, an action that was taken at a previous town meeting. Finance Committee voted to recommend. This would allow, authorize the Board of Selectmen to seek an additional license for sale of all alcohol beverages to be drunk off the premises for art specialties at 25 Nason. You see additional comments there and the sponsors' comments. Article 8 rather, it has to do with emergency rental assistance program. Whether the town would vote to appropriate from the community preservation funds amount recommended by the community preservation amount here of $75,000 for this emergency rental assistance program. We voted to recommend. You see there, it's explained in the sponsors' comments. You saw here the Finance Committee's comments and reasons for recommending that it would appropriate $75,000 for transfer to the Maynard Affordable Housing Trust for use providing rental assistance to members of the Maynard community who have been affected by the pandemic. There's an application process that you have to go through. There's no effect on property tax bills by this appropriation since it's been taken out of community preservation funds. Any portion of this appropriation not used by June 30th will remain an Affordable Housing Trust Fund unless returned to the Budget Reserve Fund by a separate town meeting vote. That separate vote is, that's required. Can't automatically go back, but we would, presumably move that back if there were funds that were unused. Article 9. Article 9. So let's see here. How do we want to deal with Article 9? I guess the let me pull the figures up here. I got to find the window here, folks. Let's see. Sorry, I have so many windows open here. Okay. I believe this is it. Let me just verify. Okay, here we are. Okay. Oops. Sorry, folks. Almost got it here. All right, here we go. So Greg, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up sorry. I'm going to open up the presentation and share this. This is the overview, this is the presentation that's going to be done at town meeting. So if you would mind explaining sort of what happened here and why a change is being made. The Finance Committee obviously I've forwarded the materials you sent me out to the finance committee, but members of the public will want to sort of understand.
Right. So this is actually an older on the town website. It's it has the more updated version, which has a different motion. Dick Downey, the town moderator, wanted a motion just to be a little clearer. So and I think he's right, and it makes sense that the motion will read, and I'll just read it aloud.
Give me 1 second. I've got the town. So this, you said it's on the town meeting. Is
Yes.
this the updated presentation?
Yeah, the overview. It's just yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm pulling that up now.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I
Nope.
thought I had the latest one.
I think we just made this change late last week.
Okay, let me share it again. This is the one I'm pulling off of the, oops, shoot. I can click these buttons right. So I thought I pulled up version 2, and the one on town website is also called version 2.
I couldn't tell you what.
But let me pull it up here, and you know, if you have a later version, we can certainly have you pull it up. All right, so I'm about to share the screen, and you can tell me whether this is the right one.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that it?
It is.
No.
Okay, thanks.
You
It
know
has
what
the new numbers on it.
No, I know, but the motion's not the same. Can you bring up what's this? So when I go to the town website, I pulled up the presentation that's different from this. I went to the town website. I went to town meeting. I clicked on the second link from the top. It says special town meeting overview presentation.
And that's the one I clicked on here. Let me try.
Huh.
Okay, hold on a second here. Give me 1 second. Okay, town meeting.
Yeah.
The one's marked updated September 24th, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And this one is like the other one. Oh, no, I don't know why. Sorry, I got the right one this time. Okay, let me pull this over. I think I got it this time. Too many windows. Okay, there we go. And okay, this should be it. All right, there we go. All right, Article 8, 9, there we are. Okay.
Right. Yep. So the only change between this version and the version you just had up was the motion itself. So Dick wanted to be clear that we're revising the budget based on what was already appropriated. And that's why it says, move to adjust the FY 2021, fiscal year 2021 general town budget as approved in Article 13 of the annual town meeting as follows. And then the person reading the motion, which will be Justine St. John, the chair of the Board of Selectmen, because the board, presents the budget, she'll have to go down each of these functions of the general fund budget, the amount subtracted, and the new total budget, and that way it's clear what's being voted on. And for those of you who don't know from the public, the reasons we are having to revise the budget, there's a couple factors. One primarily is that we had to reduce our projected amount of revenue coming in from local receipts, and those primarily are meals taxes and excise taxes. Although more recently we found out that our state assessments came in higher. So an assessment from the state means kind of like an invoice, something we have to pay back to the state for services provided by the state or by regional services. So again, lower revenue, higher expenses. And then most recently, we found out that partially because we are refinancing, as a lot of homeowners are doing these days, we were refinancing our bonds. The schedule of our bonds changed, and so we won't be collecting to pay off a bond that we are using to pay for the Green Meadow Elementary School roof. We won't be collecting that money in this fiscal year. So that means we won't have to expend that money. But that means, but we did have that expenses already allocated for, already budgeted for in the debt service line. So in the warrant, that was printed in Action Unlimited that everyone is looking at, if you go to debt service line, which is third from the bottom of the functions, it says $3,000. It says an amount subtracted is $3,000. But because we're not going to be expending $66,444 in this fiscal year, because we're not collecting that amount of money in the debt exclusion amount for the roof, we needed to correct that in what's going to be appropriated at a special town meeting. So I typed out what I'm saying in a much clearer, more concise way, and we'll be including that in a flyer that'll go in all the bags that Ken alluded to earlier. When you drive into town meeting, you get a little bag of all the swag. So in your swag bag will be an explanation of this. And I did my best to summarize all that in one sentence at the bottom.
So for those of us who are trying to understand, this is, the changes are coming sort of in two, two groups. One, which was the one we've been planning for some time, which was around the reductions that are listed here, the 54,000, 50,000, 265,000, 26,000 for public works and so forth, that we had already been planning. And so we've been discussing those for some time. And then more recently, there was one significant change, which was debt service that we thought we were going to have to pay is being deferred to next year. And so that's why that's not on here as having to be paid. So essentially, that 66,000 and change won't be paid until next year. Is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
So for those of you who have been with us for several meetings, the only change that is more recent is this debt service one. And of course, that's something that my fellow members of the Finance Committee found out over this last week as well. So any questions from members of the Finance Committee about this? Okay. All right, and I'm not seeing any questions from members of the public. I don't see anybody with a hand raised. I'm going to open up the chat here and look to see. So I don't see any other questions on that. Any questions on Article 9 before we move on then?
Hey, Ken, this is Bob. Are you planning to just read a little bit of your comments that aren't in the warrant? The FinCom comments?
Oh, thank you. Yes, because I had those up. Thank you, Bob, for the reminder. Let's see here. And thank you. So here are the comments. Let me pull them down. Oops, let's make it a little bit bigger. Thanks, Bob, for reminding me about that. So, so here are our recommendations, our comments that went along with our recommendations. So Finance Committee had recommended this article. And you see our comments there, basically saying that would amend the initial town budget, and why these reductions were necessary. We're mindful, obviously, that these reductions are substantial, particularly for the Maynard Public Schools. But after discussions with the school committee, board of selectmen, the town has to put forward a balanced budget, budget that balances revenues and expenditures. And so this is what we felt was a responsible approach for doing so. And so obviously, as the picture continues to evolve, we'll be, very mindful of this. And there are tools that the town has to continue to deal with any future things, and maybe we'll end up having to revisit this come next annual town meeting. And that's what the last paragraph is referring to. This is likely to continue to evolve in the coming months, and we'll be looking at replenishing the town stabilization accounts so that we can continue to respond to emerging requirements and burdens on those, as well as ensuring that important municipal service priorities are funded. All right, so I see that Connie has a comment, so
You want address and name?
yes, please, if you just
Okay,
identify.
Cornelia Keenan, Great Road, Maynard. You've changed your debt service amount, and I understand why. But both you and Greg have said 66,000 something rather than 69,000. Which is it?
Yeah, excuse me. So that's, thank you for asking that question, Connie. So the debt service was already in there for 3,000. And so there was so it was 3,000 even. And so they were going to reduce the debt service. We were going to reduce the debt service
No,
already
that's
by
I
3,000.
understand, but you've said two different amounts that you're going to reduce it.
Well, so if I did, I
Both you and
acknowledge that.
Jeff, Greg said,
So Connie, if you could let me finish my sentence. So
Okay.
we were already reducing by 3,000. Now we're reducing by an additional 66,444. And that's where the 66 came from.
thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you for bringing that up, because frankly, I think others may have been confused by me using two different numbers as well. So thanks for that. All right. So Connie, do you have another hand up or another comment?
No, thank you.
Okay, if you could just lower your hand the same way, then that'd be fine. And let's see here. So yeah, I just want to check chat. No more questions on that. Okay. So thanks, Greg, for your. Let me get another window out of my way here. All right, so I will go back to the final warrant. And we'll continue on then with Article 10 rather, excuse me. So Article 10 was acceptance of Keene Avenue. You all may know where Keene Avenue is. It's actually in the, it's off of Great Road. It's a new subdivision. The road is a new road. And so there weren't any upgrades or anything necessary for this. It's just acceptance of the road, a routine action that's taken place once a development has been completed and the road is finished and brought up to town standards. All right, so seeing no comments or questions, here in the warrant is the drawings if you want to take a quick look at it. Article 11 is a zoning bylaw amendment. So many of you may recall that the Coolidge School is in the process of being sold. And so that portion of the property that's immediately surrounding the Coolidge School, there's a remainder, which is the ball field, the basketball court, the playground, and so forth. And so that is to be, this would change the zoning designation from the current zoning, which is general residential, to open space, and then obviously provide a more permanent preservation of that as a community open space. The Finance Committee, of course, recommended this, would rezone it and preserve the Sledding Hill ball field, playground, and other recreational facilities there at the Coolidge School. And you see some additional information here in the sponsor's comments. Seeing no questions, I'm going to move on. There's a zoning bylaw amendment. This is simply a change to correct a minor numbering error, and so there's nothing really there to discuss. That was Article 12. Yeah, Article 12. Article 13 has to do with also another zoning bylaw to add a definition for-profit educational institution. And so our zoning bylaws do, and state law also provides a definition for a not-for-profit educational institution. So this would be more traditional university. There are an increasing number of for-profit educational institutions. So we wanted to add that to the zoning bylaws, just being able to acknowledge and clarify the distinction between for-profit and non-profit educational institutions. Article 14 is the Water Supply Protection District map. And you see that map here. And in particular, I'll go to, oops, excuse me. The comments here, sorry. Passage of this article would amend the town's water supply protection district map to incorporate a new well source, well 4A, which is located off of Detling Road. And you see here some additional comments, and then the sponsor comments. Seeing no questions or comments, I'm going to go to Article 15. Article 15 is a leasing authorization through the general fund appropriation for public works capital. This has to do with a Toro Groundmaster mower. And so we would, this is essentially a lease to purchase a Toro Groundmaster mower. This allows us to spread out the mower over the cost of the mower over 3 years, which makes it more affordable to the town. And this will allow us to allow the Department of Public Works to do their job more efficiently. And so essentially, the purchase price of this is $68,000 and change. We would be paying over 3 years a total of $71,000 and change. And so we would be paying interest over that period of time. And we felt also, because the expected useful life of the mower is approximately 10 to 12 years. And this allows us then to not have to purchase it all at once and have it hit all at one time on the town budget. All right. All right, next is the transfer from capital stabilization. There are two elements here for the total of sum of $117. So we would take from capital stabilization $45,000 for a police cruiser and $72,000 for a series of Wi-Fi upgrades to the school district. Obviously, this was something that was already being viewed. It becomes, pardon me, even more necessary now that we are so reliant on Wi-Fi service, and that will, this will allow our schools to continue to operate at a higher capacity in the coming years. Since this is being taken from the capital stabilization, there's no tax impact this year. However, passing this would reduce our capital stabilization from 699,000 and change to 582 and change. You can see there. Any questions or comments? Right, seeing none, we'll move on to the next one. Article 17 is debt exclusion appropriation for borrowing authorization for the fire station. This is to see if the town will vote to raise an appropriate transfer from available funds, et cetera, the sum of $16 million to pay for the cost of construction of the proposed new fire station. This fire station has been long in the works. We purchased the property for this already. We've done design drawings on this. These were expenses that were voted on by town meeting voters at previous town meetings. Okay. I'm going to bring up our comments here on Article 17 since they weren't in the warrant. This page that I'm showing right now with Article 9 and 17 will be included in the packet that gets handed out at the special town meeting. So we said passage of this article would authorize the appropriation, transfer, et cetera, of $16 million to pay for construction of a new fire station. The property tax increase from this debt exclusion action would be approximately $75 for the first year. And then after the first year through the end of the proposed 30-year bond would be an additional $150 approximately. Obviously, the exact amount would depend on the bonding that gets done. So the total impact of this would be $225 on an average single-family home with a property value approximately $393,000. Okay. The reason for the difference between the first year and the subsequent years is the town's paying interest only that first year. In making our recommendation, the Finance Committee discussed this at a number of meetings. The construction of the new fire station is long overdue facility replacement process. As I said, we've approved funding for purchase of land on Sudbury Street and development of design and construction plans. We're mindful of the fact that each year that this project is delayed further, construction costs will continue to climb. And actually, as Greg has noted, construction costs are either stable or lower. And so we have an opportunity here at getting at a lower cost, certainly than it will be in future years. Number two, we are also mindful if the town decides not to build a new fire station, the town will still have to pay for significant renovations to bring the existing fire station up to code and up to modern standards. The town has a website that outlines these changes, these renovations that would be needed to make in detail, but they included a high-level asbestos removal, installation of a sprinkler system, additional space to accommodate the largest fire truck that the town currently has, which is currently being housed in an outdoor tent. A lot of much needed updates to electrical, plumbing, and other systems. The total cost of these renovations estimated to be as much as $20 million. It exceeds the cost of building a new proposed fire station. Even if we decided not to fund all of those renovations, obviously we would be funding renovations to a building that will continue to fall short of our community's needs. In sum, we just need to consider that there really is no zero cost option. We're either going to renovate a building and put money into a building that has been around since the 50s, and there's just no way to bring this up without spending up to code and up to modern standard without spending a lot of money. The alternative is to build the fire station, which we've already spent quite a bit of money towards making. Finance Committee also believes that town meeting voters should consider their vote for the proposed new fire station, that as town meeting voters consider their vote, they should be aware that the town is facing other significant budget challenges. And so we just wanted to make sure that we are understanding that there are other capital projects that are coming up. And we've listed 3 of the bigger ones here. Article 18 in the warrant is requesting $1 million for a feasibility study for replacement or renovation of Green Meadow School. This is the oldest of our schools. At some point it will need to be renovated, replaced. The feasibility study is a study that is designed to help us know what is in the best interest of the town to do. And so we don't know what the results of that feasibility study are. We don't know if it'd be renovation to the current building or replacement of the current building or replacement of portions of the current building. But even so, if we looked at the property tax impact of, say, a $40 million project, and that is, we have it listed there at $20 million, because that would be our net cost after reimbursement from the MSBA, the Massachusetts School Building Authority, who paid for a portion of our high school. So we didn't have to pay for the full portion. And we are currently in the MSBA's project pipeline now, which we will want to continue to do in order to make sure that the project, whatever this project is, when the feasibility study is done, and once we know, is it renovation, is it replacement, is it some combination of that? Once that is done, the MSBA will be paying for a portion of that feasibility study, as well as a portion of whatever project that we move forward on, okay? But, that would be in the range of $280 per year for the average single family home. And so that's something. Now that's not happening this year. It would be happening, perhaps, 5, 7, 8 years from now. But that is something that would be falling on the shoulders of the Maynard taxpayer. The second one we looked at was, over the past few years, the Finance Committee has been monitoring our long-term revenue and cost trends for the upcoming 3 to 5 years. And the revenue trends are not very favorable for us. We've had some development recently, and that's great. 129 Parker Street, the Maynard Crossing is coming online, and that will add to our tax base, and that's great. But the impact of that will not fund our town's needs in the long term. And we need to continue to look at increasing revenue to the town. Of course, if that's not going to be on the shoulders of homeowners, then it's got to be through increased commercial commercial development. And we have some opportunities for that. As we're looking at, many of you may have seen recently in the news, we're looking at increased development on Powder Mill Road, 62 going out along that. That's the quarter going along towards the Stop and Shop in South Acton, in Acton. And then continuing on into Concord. There are other development. We have a new development coming online on Summer Street. There, right along the rail trail. All of these are going to be necessary changes, developments, if we want the increased revenues that our town will need to not fall on the shoulders of current residential taxpayers. So you see here, we said some Finance Committee members believe without significant new growth in the town's tax base, a Prop 2.5 override will be necessary to provide adequate funding for the town. And this is, not out 10 years. This is probably within the next couple to 3 years. And as an example, if we were to do an operational override, this would cost approximately $375 per year to the average single family household. And this is something that we're going to have come on our shoulders if we're going to continue to want the municipal services. And that's obviously our schools, our roads, our other municipal services that we have. The third one is that we face significant challenges with the aging water and sewer infrastructure. We're probably going to continue to see our water and sewer charges increase each year. We don't know how much that will be, but that is something that we will have to take on in order to provide upgrades to our water and sewer infrastructure. Now, that's not in our town budget. That's a separate budget, but obviously those costs fall on the shoulders of the Maynard taxpayers because the vast majority of people in town are on that. And so we did refer people to the project page for the proposed new fire station. Maynard Fire Department has a webpage there with more information. And so, so if there's anybody who has any questions or comments, please let us know. We can open up the discussion. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to the next article. Okay, seeing none. Okay, oops, wrong one. Oh, here it is. All right, so that's Article 17, the debt exclusion. Again, our recommendations were not in the warrant, not in the printed warrant. They're in this handout, one sheet handout that's going to be included in your packet. I would draw your attention also to the other comments from the sponsor comments. All right, Article 18, I just got done talking about that. So this will be to see if the town will vote to transfer from general stabilization sum of $1 million to be expended under direction of the school building committee for production of a feasibility study of the Green Meadow, for the Green Meadow School. And this feasibility study makes us eligible then for a grant from the MSBA. And has some other information there. So the Finance Committee did vote to recommend. I think we would prefer not to see this transferred out of the General Stabilization Fund, but I think there's a compelling, the Finance Committee members felt that there was at least a rational, if not overly compelling reason to do that, given the timelines that we have to meet here. So part of this was the fact that we're asking for, there are budget reductions already. We're already tapping into our stabilization funds. We're already doing a debt exclusion override for the fire station. And so we just felt as though, doing a debt exclusion for the $1 million was probably, given the current state of the economy and so forth, we felt as though we'd go ahead and recommend transfer of the $1 million from the general stabilization fund. So this is for the feasibility study only. Decision about whether to proceed with construction or renovation or whatever it is, that would be made at a future town meeting. This is just for the feasibility study. If we move forward with the feasibility study, some portion of that cost would be reimbursed by the MSBA, and the Finance Committee has talked to the town administrator and town finance director about making sure that any unused funds would be transferred back to the general stabilization fund. So the net effect at some point, and this was another reason why we went with this instead of debt exclusion, was that we might pay, say, half of that, with the other half being reimbursed and transferred back into the general stabilization fund. In making our recommendation, we noted that the Green Meadow School was accepted into the core program, which gives the town access to state funding, which would significantly reduce the cost of a new Green Meadow School. Again, whether it's construction of a new school or renovation, it would significantly reduce the cost to Maynard taxpayers. Obviously, something that we're wanting to take advantage of. If we don't do this now as part of the core program, if we do the feasibility study at some point in the future, we'd have to pay for the feasibility study. Plus, if we don't move forward with renovation, we're going to have to continue to pay maintenance on an aging Green Meadow School, plus the cost of any future replacement. And so we are uniquely in a position where, not uniquely, there are other projects, but we are on a short list of projects for funding, and having the feasibility study move forward is an important part of that. There's no tax impact of this, although it would reduce the general stabilization fund from 2.3 million and change to 1.3 million and change. Of course, as I said, an estimated 500,000 reimbursement would put that balance back up to 1.8 million and change. Then you also see some comments here from the sponsor, and that again is in that. So so that is that article. I'm not seeing any questions or comments. So given that, I'm going to move on then to our final one, which is the taking of Florida Road bridge construction. So this would vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to purchase, acquire, or take by eminent domain, et cetera, parcels located at 2 Florida Road, 3 Beacon Street, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is a bridge. The Florida Road Bridge would be replaced by the Commonwealth, so we're not paying for the bridge replacement. However, there are certain portions of the project that are not paid for by the state, and that would include the acquisition of land, and so the town has to do that. And then there are some, the bridge actually also carries some municipal services, and so that portion would have to be paid for by the town as well. And so again, we're not paying for the bridge to be replaced. We're paying for all those things that in order to have the state pay for the bridge, we'll have to purchase the property and associated other fees. And of course, That's all outlined in the warrant article. So we voted to recommend this. Passage of this article would authorize the Board of Selectmen, blah, 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 transfer $280,000 from the Capital Stabilization Fund for land acquisition. We don't know how much that is. There's, it could be that when all is said and done, could be donations of land and things like that. But it would transfer 280 to allow for this to be done. It would reduce our capitalization fund, which already is being, this assumes the calculation of Article 16. Remember, Article 16 was already, let me go back up and just remind you, Article 16 was transferring from capital stabilization 117 for the police cruiser and the Wi-Fi upgrades. So assuming that passes, let me bring you back down to 19. It would further reduce the capital stabilization fund from 582,000 and change to 302 and change. Okay. Again, this is clearly, at least I think to most folks, something we would want to do, because otherwise that bridge does not get replaced and it's in bad state of repair. And if we had to pay for repairs or whatever, then that comes out of the town coffers. So. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is it. Any questions or comments or anything on 19? I'm going to stop sharing. And if there are any questions, otherwise, I'm going to entertain a motion to close the public hearing. But I do want to give just another minute or two to those of you. If there's any questions. All right, then seeing no further questions, I'm going to make a motion that we close the public hearing. Is there
I'll
a second?
that. Second it, Tom Black.
So Tom has seconded. All right, of course, we'll have to take a roll call vote to close. Jill?
Yes.
Elliot?
Yes.
Tom?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Alana?
Yes.
And I also vote aye, so that's 7-0 to close the public hearing. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for doing that. All right, we do have, I do want to bring back up, let's see here. I want to bring back up two items here. Let me shift around my windows. All right. So we need to revote our recommendation. And so, okay, I'm going to bring back up this is on Article 9. So, so let me share this. Actually, let me see if I can share the whole thing. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, I think I'm going to be able to get this all on one screen. Okay, there we go. It's a little small, but I think I got everything on here. And let's see if I can do a screen share for my whole thing. All right, okay, share screen. And I think, let's see if I can do that, share. And you all will see yourself there for a minute. And let me see if I can pull a few things out of the way here. All right. Okay, I'm going to reduce this down. Okay. All right, so this is our current recommendation on Article 9. You see here, we said passage of this article would amend initial town general fund budget passed in June from 44,975,835 down to 44,533,465. Overall reduction of this. So now you see that there's actually an additional reduction again. That's because of the additional reduction in debt service that we're not going to have to pay. So at a minimum, we need to redo we need to revote on this in order to bring those numbers correctly. Personally, I'm comfortable with the wording of the rest of the reasons of recommendations. As long as we adjust those numbers, I see nothing else that needs to be done. Nothing has been changed other, from our previous discussions other than the reduction in debt service. Is there any discussion from my fellow finance committee members?
This is Alana, Ken. I think I would like to change in the second paragraph that first sentence just to reflect that these reductions are necessary due to changes in initial projections in local aid from the state in local receipts. Also add state assessments and a change in our debt service. And I think then that covers
I would agree.
all of the difference.
Okay, good. Other comments?
The print's kind of small.
All right, let me see if I can boost this one down a little bit. And,
No, it's all right. No, don't do that. I think Alana, we struggled over this a couple of weeks ago. I think Alana's nailed it this time though. Yeah, I agree with what Alana's saying.
So you're just testing me.
Making sure you're still awake.
There, is that better? I can boost it up a little bit. Other comments or thoughts?
Do we want to say anything about what the assessments encompass?
So that's a great question. So I looked at the assessments and I continue to be concerned about the amount of money going for charter schools. I remember a few years ago when I said that at some point this would be over $1 million that we would be losing. You would have thought that, I was, should have been burned at the stake for, suggesting that much money would ever go out. And we're now over $1 million, $1 million going out to charter schools. So I would certainly be open to adding some more, but I mean, I don't know that for the purpose of town meeting, that
It might be worth saying a quick sentence about it, I think, and even just defining what we mean by state assessment, because I'm not sure
okay.
maybe everybody understands. So if we just added one additional sentence that said something like state assessments include charter school costs, and I think I have a note on what else.
So the other thing I would say is just to
it was
clarify.
school choice as well. That went
Yeah.
up for us. And then it was just a couple other smaller miscellaneous general government ones that were like $1,815.
Yeah. So I also want to be very clear here. Whatever change we make, the most that we're going to be able to do is post this on the town meeting website and on the FinCom webpage. This will not be in the packets. The packets have already been put together, and so unless you know, somebody's going to volunteer to hand out pages at town meeting, there's really nothing that we can do.
Oh, okay.
So I'll speak to this. I can certainly speak to this when we make the recommendation. That's probably the one place that I can clarify that the difference between the amount. So when I go to make the recommendation, Finance Committee recommends at town meeting, I can elaborate on the difference. I can certainly add a sentence or two to that. I don't mind that, but I just want to clarify sort of expectations. This isn't going to be making it in the packet. It'd be me making these comments, which I don't mind doing, and probably I will have to do anyway. Obviously our recommendation has one number, 44 million, 0.5 million instead of 44.4 million. So
May I suggest that I'll just make, a note in the minutes about what we had just said, that what the differences entail. And that could be another spot where it is. Because
so you're not going to have the minutes up before town meeting.
Not before town meeting, that's true.
Yeah. So, I can certainly redo this. I can certainly redo, this part and send it to Dave and have him redo it. Like I said, at a minimum, I'm going to have to do that anyway because the amount changes.
Right.
All right. So.
I think you explaining it at town meeting is going to be fine.
Okay. So I will add in a sentence on the state assessments and debt service. Any other comments or thoughts on this?
I think you should have Justin DeMarco run around to every car, sort of like he did in March. In the previous meeting, run back and forth. He's up for it. I'm kidding.
Well, you got the Boy Scouts, I guess, could do it. But, to me, I think, if our recommendation was significantly changing in tone or anything like that, I think I'd be more inclined to do something like that. But the reality is it's really the amounts that are changing. And so I think what I'll do is I will, I'll even highlight those portions which have changed and the reason why. So, and now that it's not going to be printed, it actually could be longer. So.
Do you actually get an opportunity, seriously, actually this time, to say, in addition to FinCom recommends, that there is a slight change in the packet? Is that what you're saying? Because you can't read it.
I have before.
Yeah. Okay.
Anything else? All right, then I will entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the changes to the Article 9, which includes not only the budget, but also our recommendation. Have I got everything?
Okay.
I think that's it. That's what I move.
Okay. Is there a second?
This is Peter. I'll second.
Peter seconds. All right, any further comments? All right, I'll do a roll call vote. Jill?
Yes.
Elliot? Elliot, I didn't hear you if you said something. I'll come back to Elliot in a minute. Tom,
Aye.
Peter,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Alana,
Yes.
Elliot, you there? I'm hearing something. So Elliot, if you're still, well, actually, I'm not seeing Elliot on.
He's not on the list.
Oh, okay, he isn't. No, he's not. Okay, all right, well, so that's a 6-0 vote. Alana, 6-0 with Elliot not present.
Elliot is planning a coup.
Anybody who wants to do a coup, you're welcome to. All right. Okay, let me pull back up our where are we? Here we are. All right. Okay, so our next topic of discussion is upcoming meeting schedule. And so I had emailed out to all of you that our next meeting is scheduled for October 12th, which is a holiday. I'm pulling up my calendar here, folks. Give me 1 second. So October 12th is a holiday. In some years we have sort of this weird thing where we sometimes have 5 Mondays, and this will allow us some time to sort of redo our schedule. But the 5 Mondays doesn't come until November, and so that doesn't really help us out here. So I was thinking that we could either skip the October 12th meeting and meet next on the 26th, or we could meet on, say, the 19th. Well, really, any other time. So it's up to you all.
Chair,
I
the
mean, I
budget,
guess. I'm sorry. Go
Ken,
ahead.
this is Alana. The budget subcommittee is planning to meet on the 19th.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You did say that. Thank you.
Mhm.
The 19th is a budget subcommittee meeting, and so we wouldn't want to be meeting then. We could pull up our meeting to the 5th, which would be next Monday, which is an alternative. So I guess and Greg, if you want to chime in here, I'm thinking that I know you've given the budget guidance out to the departments, but you certainly haven't gotten anything back. And you're talking with the budget subcommittee on the 19th. And so, we're not really going to be in a position to start on the 5th with any sort of, FY22 budget thing. So, do you agree with that?
I do agree. Mike and I were just talking about our sort of approach, because our initial approach is adjusted a little bit because with the forthcoming retirements of Cheryl Kane, the treasurer collector, and Mike, we were trying to, what we do per year is every year we try to be as aggressive as possible with trying to formulate the budget so we can get it early. But I can't say that I'm going to be prepared at a certain time yet. I haven't sent out when exactly I want the departments to submit their FY22 operating budgets. So no, I can't say for sure when I'll have it ready for you.
Well, it's certainly not going to be on the 5th, which I guess, again, for the sake of my fellow, just to sort of put out there for my fellow Finance Committee members, I don't know that we would have any business to conduct next Monday anyway. we can't do it on the 12th. The budget subcommittee meets on the 19th. And so, barring any burning recommendation to the, any suggestion, I guess I would suggest we meet next on the 26th. Any thoughts, agreement, disagreement?
This is Peter. I agree.
Sounds like a fine idea, although I will miss your company.
Well, I'll come walk the dog and we can socially distance as we talk. Okay, so hearing no other things, then our next meeting will be on the 26th. Mike, are you going to have budget transfers or reserve fund transfers rather for us?
Yes, I'm going to try to get them done either this week or next week, and I'll give them to Greg, and then you'll have them well before the meeting.
And so we'll have that. I'd also like to talk about the master plan. And the reason, and what that conversation is the master plan really puts out, there's a lot of things in there that will cost the town money. And the implementation committee is going to start sort of developing plans around that. And I think we as a finance committee, need to incorporate these recommendations. And I'm not saying we have to accept them. We can sit there and say, nope, don't think we're gonna have money, don't think we're gonna have money. I mean, we need to provide some guidance to the implementation committee so that they're not sitting there saying, we got a blank check here. And then I think the financial policies is another thing that we need to do. Mike, Kelly had emailed me saying somewhere along the way, she remembers seeing a spreadsheet that included a layout of all debt exclusion votes and average taxpayer effects from fiscal year to fiscal year.
Going back how long?
I'm sorry?
Going back how far?
I guess.
Are you talking about, all right, we have a list, yeah, the debt exclusions. Yeah.
Okay, so could you send that to me and I could share that out?
Yeah.
And does that include the average impact on tax bills?
No, it doesn't. That would take a lot of time to put together.
Why don't we just start with the list of debt exclusion votes, if you would?
Yeah, because the debt exclusion,
Well, I know you have that in a file somewhere, and so
Yeah.
I guess if you just send us a list of the Maynard debt exclusions votes, and this would, I guess, include really sort of more broadly any overrides of any kind. So
you want the history going back on overrides too?
whatever you have that's easy to put together.
All right, because I got one
I'm
file.
just saying, I'm not looking for you to do research.
I already researched. I have two things. One I can give you on the debt exclusions, the list of them and whatever. I can also when they will expire. I did one time have a list of all the overrides, capital or regular overrides that Maynard passed or failed. I have a history of that.
Okay. So if you could send those two documents, I'm not looking for you to do any further research. Let us look at those documents as they are, and then if we have any more questions, then we'll come to you, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay, let's look at the, so is there any other business, Greg, Mike, or any member of the Finance Committee that we need to do? I said we'd look at the master plan financial policies, we have reserve fund transfers. And, we can sit there and talk a little bit about the FY '22 sort of budget season, but I don't think we're going to have much to talk about there.
I'm all set.
Anything else?
Hey, this is Elliot. Sort of unrelated. My wife showed me something this weekend about there was a fundraiser page for the church, or the old church or town
Yeah.
meeting hall that was downtown. I didn't know if anybody knew more about that. I read the description, but I wasn't.
Yeah,
not too familiar with
I mean, the church is privately owned now, and obviously with the COVID pandemic, it was a venue place, and so obviously not had a lot of reasons for that. So
What it said in the GoFundMe was that their private investors want to sell it. They want to be done with it. And the man who's running it, whose name escapes me at this moment, couldn't secure a mortgage of some kind that he needed. So he's looking to try to have the community help out and see if he can keep it.
Yep. So, obviously, I think there are a lot of people who are supportive in the community, but was there a specific question, Elliot?
Nope, just wanted to see if anybody was familiar with that.
Yeah. Any other comments before I entertain a motion to adjourn? I will accept the motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn at 8:43 p.m.
Is there a second?
Second?
Is that you, Tom? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Tom seconds. Okay, Jill?
Yes.
Elliot?
Yep.
Tom?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Kelly?
Yes.
Alana?
Yes.
And I also vote yes, so 7-0. Thank you all very much. Nice job this evening, everybody. Much appreciate it.
See a bunch of you at town meeting. It looks like we're going to get beautiful weather.
Yeah.
It'll
that'll
be a
good.
little
Don't talk
a little
about it.
cooler, so hopefully we won't have to jumpstart people who had their ACs running the whole time last time.
I'd also like to acknowledge Megan Zamuto is the one who's been helping behind the scenes, a very important job of running our Zoom meeting and also the live streaming to Facebook. So thank you, Megan.
Thank you, Megan.
And as always, Mike, go ahead, Megan.
Oh, no problem. Happy to help.
Thank you. And Mike and Greg, as always, thanks for being on with us.
No problem.
No problem.
All right. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Stay safe and well.